Not so instant match reaction then. Just got back from Molineux after a long coach journey home, and the coach actually broke down about 10 minutes from home, which was absolutely fantastic as well. Wolves 2, Everton 1. Going to be quick, this one. It's an instant, not so instant match reaction, of course, a couple of hours after the game is finished. I'm just lost at the moment with Everton, if I'm being perfectly honest with you. The first half was a complete and utter shambles. Pretty much a continuation of the last 15 minutes against Watford. We were absolutely all over the place. There was no cover in the centre of the midfield. Obviously, Rafa Benitez started with Jean-Philippe Gbamin and Alan in midfield, and that was a midfield pairing that I think, gave a lot of people a little bit of confidence, and maybe there was a bit of optimism of that, Jean-Philippe Gbamin could step in and fill that role that Abdoulaye Doucouré obviously is, typically putting in, and that we've been missing over the last week or so since Abdoulaye Doucouré's picked up his injury. But I don't know whether it's a case of him just not being anywhere near the level of fitness he needs to be at, or just not being anywhere near good enough, or as good as maybe we seem to think he is. But he was dross today, Jean-Philippe Gbamin. He was absolutely dross. He was running around like a headless chicken. Positional wise, he never knew where he was or needed to be. I understand if he's a little bit off the pace. I understand if his passing's a little bit off. I understand if his fitness is a little bit off. But I can't really sit here and stomach an excuse for a professional footballer walking around the football pitch as if he'd never seen a football pitch before, not knowing where he needs to be, not knowing where he needs to cover, sort of finding himself standing round, almost looking around, overwhelmed as if the fact that he's playing a Premier League game of football, it just wasn't good enough. Alan was having to cover him left, right and centre, which left him exposed on a number of occasions. Defensively, we were absolutely all over the place. Ben Godfrey and Mason Holgate was shocking once again. Michael Keane and Seamus Coleman, not much better. We weren't getting the ball into Dominic to Richarlison. We weren't getting the ball into Damari Gray or Andros Townsend. It was just, as I said, a direct continuation to the absolute shit show last week against Watford, and Wolves made us pay within the opening 5 or 6 minutes. They score, Hwang Hee-chan puts the ball in the back of the net and it's ruled offside. Again, millimetres offside, and from that point on, for me, I think Rafa Benitez needs to make the change. I really, really do think Rafa Benitez needs to make the change. And I get that it was only 10-15 minutes into the first half, and you can say, oh yeah, Campbell, why would he make a substitution 10-15 minutes into the first half? But I sat in the ground, could see, everybody else sat around me could see, and I'm sure everybody watching at home could see that game was only going one way in that first half. Gbamin was all over the place and didn't know where he needed to be. Alan was having to cover him left, right and centre, and therefore leaving space for Wolves to move into. Defensively, we were abysmal. You knew they were going to capitalise on that at one point. And he didn't change it. Why he waited till half-time to bring Fabian Delph on, I'll never know. The fact that I'm sitting here now and talking about an Everton performance in which Fabian Delph is the man of the match and has come on and changed the game just shows how desperate we are at the moment and the level that we've dropped to. And that's no disrespect to Fabian Delph, but 4 or 5 weeks ago people were talking about moving Fabian Delph on and never wanting to see him in an Everton shirt again. Now he's coming on and changing games of football. That's how desperate we've gotten to at the minute. And as I said, I put that blame down to the manager. I do. Don't get me wrong. I think the players take a lot of blame for this. They went out there last week and got absolutely embarrassed by a side that will be fighting relegation come the end of the season. Absolutely tormented and ripped to bits at Goodison Park against a poor Premier League side. The least they could do is come out today and give it 110%. The least they could do is come out today, show a bit of fight, show a bit of passion, show a bit of urgency. And in that first half, the majority of them looked like they couldn't be arsed. And it's really, really sad, because you travel home an hour and a half from Wolverhampton, and the more I was sort of, on the coach and having a think about it, the more I just sort of felt disconnected from this Everton team. I've never really felt this disconnected from Everton in a long, long time. And what I mean by that is I genuinely don't have an emotional connection to any of these players, barring maybe 1 or 2. I honestly, if I woke up tomorrow and read my phone and heard that the rest of them had left the football club, I wouldn't bat an eyelid. I genuinely wouldn't care less. I really, really wouldn't. And I know there'll be a lot of people on this reaction saying the manager's got to go and it's Benitez's fault, this, that and the other. Listen, if Rafa Benitez was to leave the football club tomorrow, which he won't, by the way, so it's a pointless conversation, he won't, but if he was, I would really like to hope that he would take 95, 96% of that squad with him, because none of them deserve to wear an Everton shirt. None of them. It was absolute disgrace in that first half, and you could see it coming from a mile off. Wolves took control of the game, went and got the 2 goals, of course. Which again, a set piece, which is just, it's pointless even talking about it now, isn't it? If Everton are playing a game of football, there's 3 things in life that are guaranteed: death, taxes, and Everton conceding set pieces. It's simple. It's simple. I'd put me life savings on Everton conceding a set piece next week to Spurs. I've never seen a team change so drastically from last season under Ancelotti, where we were actually relatively good at defending set pieces. We didn't really concede from them. We seemed to master it. And I'm not really sure why Benitez has come in and seemingly ripped all of that to bits and sort of said, forget all that, we're going to learn a new thing. We know this squad of players isn't very good at learning. We know this squad of players isn't very good at chopping and changing different styles and different ways of doing things. So why, when we had it so, well drilled and well sorted out, why change that? Why change it? Because now we can't defend a set piece. We can't defend the corner. We can't defend a free kick. We can see another one. We go 1-0 down. Again, as I said, we can see it coming. Gabaman at this point may as well be sat next to me. He's all over the place. The ball into the forward line. Richarlison is working hard, but getting nowhere near him. Alex Iwobi, again, okay, he scored the goal, which I'd like to say will do him a lot of confidence and will be good for him, and it was a good finish, but he done nothing else. He's again ghosted the game. Anthony Gordon looked more impressive in the 10-15 minutes that he was on the pitch than Alex Iwobi did in his 70-80 minute spell, and he scored the goal. And that's not just me scapegoating him and having a go at him because he's a player that everybody likes to have a go of. He genuinely didn't do anything of note other than, yes, he scored the goal, which was a good finish, but does that make up for 70 minutes of utter dross before it? For me, it doesn't. And yeah, again, obviously, if there's any way of conceding goals, and it's not going to be from a set piece for Everton, it's typically a self-sabotaged mistake from one of our back line, and it was exactly that again today. Ben Godfrey decides to play a pass that's about as weak as piss to Mason Holgate. Mason Holgate, for some reason, almost acts like when you're playing FIFA and you're trying to switch you're trying to use your controller to switch players and you've switched to the wrong player, so your defender just stands still because you haven't switched to him. Jimenez gets in, thinks it over Jordan Pickford, 2-0. Gets to half-time, and as I said, it was a direct continuation of a complete and utter shambles last week against Watford. And okay, we come out in the second half and we were marginally better. We brought Fabian Delph on, started to control the game a little bit more. As I said, the fact that I'm sitting here talking about Fabian Delph coming on and changing the game makes me think, what's the point with Everton anymore? And again, no disrespect to Fabian Delph, he played well today, fair play to him, he turned up, he battled, he played well, he was my man of the match, but really. And yeah, we then started to almost give a shit and show that we cared and show that we wanted to get into the game and show that we wanted to control the ball a little bit. Alex Iwobi actually started to look like a footballer. Alan obviously could play himself a little bit more because Delph was covering a lot more than Gabaman was. We were getting the ball into Damari Gray and Anders Townsend a lot more, albeit they weren't great tonight, they worked hard, but we were getting the ball into them a lot more. And as I said, we get the goal with 20-25 minutes to go. Alex Iwobi, nice finish, to be fair to him. Don't think he'd done much else in the game, but nice finish. And you're thinking, right, kick on now. 10-15 minutes, go and get an equaliser. And I was saying to one of the lads on the way home, on the coach there, I think Everton are probably the only Premier League team in that situation tonight who don't go on and equalise. I can almost guarantee that if roles were reversed and that game was at Goodison Park and it was 2-0 to Everton and we were cruising in the first half and Wolves come out in the second half and scored with 20 minutes to go, we'd have conceded the second and drawn that game, potentially even lost the game. But there doesn't seem to be that urge in momentum. Yes, we got forward on a couple of other occasions and we had half chances, but it was only half chances. Anthony Gordon had a header which was saved when he come on, which was unlucky, but it's only half chances. It wasn't like we were getting forward and absolutely pelting shots at the Wolves goalkeeper who'd made the mistake early on in the game and showed that he was susceptible to spilling the ball. It was almost like we'd got to 2-1, worked for 5 minutes, worked a little bit harder, and then thought, yeah, we'll drop back down to being utter shite now. And yeah, as I said, too little, too late. Too little, too late. I think the manager's at fault. I don't think John Felix Gabaman is anywhere near Premier League level, to be perfectly honest with you, whether that's due to his fitness or his ability as a footballer. The players, who obviously have to take a massive cut of the blame, because they're on that pitch in that Everton shirt, and the majority of them don't give a shit. And yeah, as I said before, it's another defeat. Another defeat. I was a bit pessimistic going into this game. I knew it'd be difficult, I knew it'd be tough, but I thought that we could at least go out and show a reaction, at least go out in the first half and battle, fight, show a bit of energy, show a bit of intensity, you know, give a bit back to those travelling fans. The away support was immense tonight. We sold out the whole of that bottom end of the stand in Molineux. And the first half was like watching Sunday League football. And Wolves are a decent side. They're a decent Premier League side. They're around our level. They look like Man City in that first half, and we look like fucking, I don't know, Scunthorpe United. No disrespect to Scunthorpe. And yeah, we can sit here all we like and talk about the second half. And I know the positive spin is, yeah, Cam, but look at how much we improved in the second half. Look at how much better we were. But for every one of those second half performances, you get 5 of the first half performances from Everton. And it's just not good enough. I'm sick of Seamus Coleman coming over at the end and apologising. Means fuck all, mate, because you still put in the same performance the week after. And yeah, it's another, as I said, another set piece conceded and another self-sabotage by one of our defenders to concede a goal, which is just Everton written all over. Absolutely Everton written all over. But there you go. What can we do? What can we do, eh? The manager won't be sacked, so there's no point in having a discussion. And let's not allow these players to hide behind another manager. You know, a lot of these players have lived through Ronald Koeman, Marco Silva, you know, Duncan Ferguson's brief spell, Carlo Ancelotti, Rafa Benitez now. And yes, those managers deserved criticism in their own ways for their own issues and you know, I suppose naiveties. But how many times are we going to let players hide behind managers before we start going, do you know what? You can get out the door as well because you're not fit enough to wear this shirt. There's a lot of problems at Everton Football Club, and they go beyond this instant match reaction. But again today, I can't be anything more than annoyed and frustrated, and probably, you know, majorly by the second half performance and why we didn't put that in the first half. The manager's decisions as well, starting Gabam, you know, for me, I thought, yeah, let's see what he can do. He's nowhere near ready. He's nowhere near either good enough or fit enough. But also that again, I've watched a lot of bad Everton teams in my life. I've watched David Moyes manage a lot of bad Everton players, but they always give it 110%. They always battled, they always give their own, they always worked hard. And yes, sometimes we left stadiums saying we were awful today, but we always left saying, do you know what? These players fought, they worked hard, they battled. Because if you didn't, you weren't in a David Moyes Everton side. If you didn't care, if you didn't give it 110%, you were nowhere near it. And I know I don't want to keep going back to David Moyes because I know it's irrelevant. But I just think, as I said, I've watched a lot of those Everton teams where we were bad, but at least the players give a shit. Now I'm watching Everton teams that are bad and the players don't even seem to give a shit. So why should we as fans? But anyway, look, there you go. That's the not so instant match reaction. If you've enjoyed it, leave a like. Don't forget to subscribe if you're new. Play ratings will be up very shortly as well, so check out those. Leave your comments down below, and yeah, we'll see you soon. Nice one for watching. See you after.